Alright, boys and girls, I am back with another lovely, provocative video that is commentary on many of our political subjects. And of course, the recent ones I did were stuff such as revisiting the situation between Blair White and Jessica Neve. And I hope that Blair White doesn't have to live in fear of being attacked because of the horrible things that Jessica Neve has been doing. And I hope Jessica Neve goes to jail. I honestly hope that. But today we're getting in on a touchy subject and something I've heavily debated with my cousin that is a big time social justice warrior. And before we get into that, I am Dash Island for Divided Spectrum. You are watching Dash Unhinged. And of course, as always, subscribe to the channel. I don't care if you like the video or whatnot, because honestly, I just love doing these videos. Alright, let's get into it. Toxic femininity is a real thing. Because it's obviously apparent whenever we see all this bullshit about toxic masculinity. I don't believe for one bit what their definitions of toxic masculinity are. I mean, there is toxic masculinity in a sense, but it's very rare compared to the general populace. The definition that many third wave feminists and social justice warrior have on toxic masculinity is a I'm not saying toxic masculinity as a whole doesn't exist. I'm saying that their perception, their idea of what toxic masculinity is a myth. And I even tried looking up toxic femininity on Google, and it told me that it was a myth perpetrated by the misogynists. That's not true. It's a real thing. Believe me, I can even show the proof if I wanted to. Here's the thing. Traditional masculinity is under attack. Traditional masculinity is just a natural biological thing. It's it's been apparent in humans for years on end. We like to act tough. We don't like to cry. That's not toxic. That's called we are dudes. I hate the idea of crying. I find it humiliating. I find it weak. That's my idea. That's not because of some bullshit societal roles I get pushed into. That's just my own idea, and that can be agreed on. Me and my brothers. We just think it's weak to cry. You might not think so, but we find it humiliating. It doesn't make us stronger. We think if we can keep an ironclad wall to to our emotions, we'll be just fine. That's not toxic masculinity. Being sexually attracted to a girl, that's not toxic masculinity either. That's just basic biology. That's basic sexuality. Wanting to show yourself off as strong and wanting to defend your mate is not toxic masculinity either. Plus, many girls love it whenever their man can defend them. They love a man who provides. That's not toxic masculinity. That's biology and sexuality. It's been observed that many women like a boyfriend who can take control, one who's strong, one who can provide. They don't want some soy boy living in his basement claiming to be a feminist only to get laid, who can't provide anything because they're living in their mother's basement at the age of 36. That's basically what it is. And nowadays, with the bigger media presence, they're trying to take down the traditional forms of masculinity because third wave feminism is not about gender equality, it's about getting benefits. Now, I agree with the standard form of feminism, which is gender equality, making sure that the genders all have equal opportunities, that there's nothing unfair going on. Basically, everyone gets treated the same. I can agree with that, but not the third wave, where they only want benefits and they want to demonize men. And that's what the idea of toxic femininity is doing. Because I remember about a year ago, I was talking to my cousin. And of course, I don't like smiling because one, I'm autistic, and two, I just can't stand to smile. It makes me awkward. Seriously, like, I just feel like I have an awkward gait and it looks like I'm like ready to murder someone. Believe me, it's just the most awkward thing. And when you're very self-critical, you just generally don't like smiling in pictures unless it's genuine. Like I will Only smile in pictures if I'm really around my nieces, then that's it. And she was like, you don't smile because of toxic masculinity. I'm like, that's bullshit. You know why it's bullshit? Because I say I don't like to smile. They're like, no, you're trying to act tough for your friends. Here's the thing, I'm pretty open in front of my friends. I don't smile because I don't want to smile. It's not toxic masculinity. I have nothing to prove to my friends. We're generally chill with each other. Plus, there's nothing to act cool about. We're just cool in our own sense because we're a bunch of nerds. It's not toxic masculinity. Another thing that adds to the idea, the existence of toxic femininity, is hashtag him too and false accusations. I remember this was a widely protested thing back in Portland, back in June 29th, whenever Andy No got that unfortunate assault. Because honestly, no one deserves to be assaulted. I went over this in the video of why Trump will get reelected in 2020 because of Antifa. But the reason why Antifa was quote unquote protesting that event was because a well known conservative commentator who's running a new movement is trying to make the public aware of how false rape accusations happen a lot more than you think. And know what toxic femininity is? It's things like custody hearings are very biased on gender. Like, if you have a custody hearing against your ex-partner, the mother is more than likely to win her children. In a child support case, in divorce, it's more likely that the man has to pay alimony and child support, and the mother doesn't really have to do anything. It's that biased. And false rape accusations do happen. Happened to my brother. It's happened to so many people, and it's destroyed lives. And I just think that we gotta stop automatically believing someone when they say that they got raped. I think we have to take a look at evidence because that's how the law system works. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. That is due process. That means requiring much evidence and investigation. And that has actually showed evident in shows like SVU, which I love watching, and they're based on actual cases. Like one recent episode known as Dearly Beloved featured an episode where one woman claimed that her therapist had sexually assaulted her. And whenever some things didn't seem to line up, they thought, okay, maybe this woman is a bit kooky. But then they started noticing stuff, and yeah, that therapist was sick in the head. And of course, there have been showings where in those episodes of SVU that there were false accusations. There was one in season 15 where a girl and her friend decided to teach their little siblings to regurgitate stuff to try and imprison a music teacher under the false pretense that he was a pedophile. And that quickly fell apart whenever Detective Benson figures out. I know this show is fiction, but like I said, it's based on actual cases. And false rape accusations do happen and they ruin lives. I think that just because you're a woman doesn't mean you should get off scot-free lying and telling people that such a thing happened. That's wrong. If a man did it, let's say we're in equitable, let's say that a man falsely accuses a woman of rape, people would be on his ass pretty quick. But then again, this goes into my next point, where if it was, let's say the man was actually raped by a woman, they would be like, oh, men can't get raped. That woman forced me into sex. It's the ultimate fantasy. No, that is not right. It's especially not right whenever a woman does it to a teenage boy. And you see that at schools more often nowadays, which is pretty demented. And men do get raped. I'm one of those cases, except not by a woman. Anyways, but men do get raped. They only believe it's rape whenever a guy rapes them. Now that is actually one instance of toxic masculinity that I was talking about in the true form. Toxic femininity is we're saying that a woman can't rape a man. It can happen. There's women that rape women. There's women that rape men. There's men that rape women. There's men that rape men. It happens. You can't say that something happens just because of a certain gender. Because obviously that's probably the worst argument you can have because it's not founded in any evidence. And then they also say, oh, men can't be sexually harassed, but women are getting sexually harassed all the time. Listen, flirting with a woman is not sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is making very, very sexual remarks towards a woman or inappropriate touching. But flirting with a woman is not sexual harassment. And men do get sexually harassed. Just look at the case with the recent Katy Perry allegations where one of the people in her music video alleged that she exposed him in front of a bunch of people at a party. And then more people started coming forward that now it's a new Me Too movement, except it's him too now. Because men are coming forward with female celebrities having sexually assaulted them. And to be honest, I have been sexually harassed too. Because when I was in high school, two girls I was in band with had really harassed me a lot. And they just felt they could get away with it. And I was just too awkward to say anything. And they extended into 2016, back like past our graduation. I didn't ask for it and I was too awkward. But looking back on it, it was definitely sexual harassment. And the thing is that they think, oh, you'll be fine. You're a guy, you don't have to worry about this. But here's the problem. With the way our society is towards men and all the stuff that's happened to me, I'm in this constant state of anxiety as of late that it's going to happen to me again. And they're going to be like, oh, buck up, you're a man. Here's the thing. I'm a man. I do like feeling strong. I don't want to feel any of that. But it's an irrational fear caused by trauma. That's that. And that can't be controlled. Yeah, no, I said it's okay for men to act strong. It's okay for men to be strong. That's not toxic masculinity. But there's also times whenever it comes to mental illness or stuff that has happened that they can't control. And that's okay. You're not going to have control over everything. But in a general sense, if you don't like crying, that's not toxic masculinity. That's just called you don't like freaking crying. That's something I can't stand whenever I argue with people who think that toxic masculinity is a real thing. In all actuality, toxic masculinity is a myth. Stop trying to demonize men for being men. Just like you shouldn't demonize women for being women. That is sexism. It's both misogyny and misandry. But people are like, oh, you can't be a misandrist. It's possible. Anything's possible. It's really baffling how people are not willing to see things that are clear as day because their ideology blinds them. My friend Spencer would agree with me on this type of stuff. Like if I were explaining everything to him like I have on here, he would see that I would be right. And hopefully people who are more reasonable and moderate or centrist or anything like that would definitely agree. I'm going to go out on a whim saying that. But really, I think no matter what kind of person you are, doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, whatever, doesn't matter if you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, etc. It doesn't matter really what disability, like what your ability is. Doesn't matter what your age is. You commit a crime or you do something wrong, you should be held accountable. That's how the law system works. Due process. If there's something that shows that you did something wrong, like evidence, you should be held accountable for it. But we also got to remember that you can only accuse someone if you have the evidence to show that they did something wrong. If you don't do that. Remember, the accused are innocent until proven guilty. I know I'm saying, like, if you do something wrong, you should be held accountable, but that's after all the evidence has been accounted for. But unfortunately, we're living in a society today where basically it's like you're guilty until proven innocent. And even when you're proven innocent, it's too late and you're still guilty. Why? Because of toxic social media culture. I explained this on one of my episodes, one of my first episodes of Dash's Call, whenever I did my podcast on broad culture. I'm still doing it, but like I said, I'm not getting into politics today. This is a separate thing. But yeah, toxic femininity is a real thing. Toxic masculinity in the eyes of social justice warriors is a myth. And that's there's some truth to that. I can't push it as fact because this is merely an opinion piece. So with that being said, I'm ending this video. I've been Dash Island. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you share it. Please subscribe. You can watch a lot more videos where I go into political commentary. I'm going to have guests here, and I'm reviving Bring It to the Table, where Spencer will be returning, and we will definitely be touching up on current events topics. It's something that I'm glad is returning. So, we'll see you next time on Divided Spectrum.